in history, a point of enormous tension, where globalization has succeeded in globalizing all of the problems so much more effectively than the solutions. So if you take any problem that might have been a rather minor problem 30, 40, 50, 100 years ago, today it's become an almost insuperable problem because it's been so effectively globalized. So just to give two simple examples, if you take drug trafficking used to be a local problem that might affect one or two countries, and therefore it was well within the capability of each of those countries to stamp it out. Today, drug trafficking is a global business. It covers most of the Earth's surface, and it's consequently impossible for any single country to stamp it out. The same applies to migration. The same has always applied to climate change, to various abuses of human rights, to human trafficking, to landmines, to pandemics, to financial chaos. Whatever you look at, the problems have become globalized and the solutions have not. And the real problem is that the only power on earth that's sufficiently potent to tackle these problems, the nations, instead of collaborating together, basically spend all of their time and energy competing against each other to try and get the best deal for their own citizens. And this has got to change. I think what's really needed is a cultural change. And when I talk about a cultural change, I mean a change in the culture of governance. The basic idea of how people in positions of power and responsibility should behave. So I'm not just talking about national governments, I'm talking also about city and regional and town governments. I'm talking about the management of corporations. All of those people in positions of power and authority are still following a very, very simple old-fashioned mandate, which is that they regard themselves as being responsible for their own people and their own piece of territory. And that's the way it's always been. If we want the world to start tackling its problems, we have to change that mandate. We have to update it to what I call a dual mandate, which says that everybody in a position of power is responsible for his or her own people and for every single man, woman, child, and animal on the planet. And they're responsible not just for their own small slice of territory, but for every single square kilometer of the Earth's surface and the atmosphere above it. Now, that sounds extraordinarily ambitious, and indeed it is. But I think that these cultural changes can and do happen quite frequently. If you look at the idea of happiness, this was an idea that came out of Bhutan just a few years ago. And up until that point, every government only ever talked about prosperity. When they were standing for election, when they were talking to their citizens, all they ever said was, we can make you richer. Then suddenly the idea of happiness came out of Bhutan, and suddenly politicians were talking about, we can make you happier. That's a huge cultural change.